Canada has one of the highest rates of multiple sclerosis in the world. An estimated 1 in every 385 Canadians are living with the disease. May is MS Awareness Month, and today we are dedicating time to looking at what life is like with MS and how Canada is at the forefront of MS research around the world. Joining me now is Dr. Paul Giacomini from Montreal Neurological Institute and Hospital. Doctor, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, Ben.
So right off the top, I said Canada has one of the highest rates of multiple sclerosis in the world. Every time I say that to somebody, their answer is the same. Why? So I put that question to you, sir.
Yeah, so this is still somewhat of a mystery. We don't fully understand all the causes of multiple sclerosis. There seems to be genetic and environment interplay, and Canada is traditionally, the founding populations were from high-risk areas of the world where MS is more common, but that doesn't fully explain why we have such a high burden of this particular illness in this country. It also seems to be that northern countries seem to have a higher incidence of multiple sclerosis, and Canada is quite far from the equator, as we all know, with our long winters. And vitamin D seems to also play a role. Vitamin D deficiency or inadequate levels of vitamin D in one's diet actually seem to be a risk factor for multiple sclerosis. So these are a lot of the different factors that seem to explain why we have such a high risk for multiple sclerosis in this country.
Doctor, next hour we're airing an interview I did with a young man who was diagnosed recently with MS, and he's now part of a clinical trial. Clinical trials are a huge part of MS research in Canada. Talk to me about some of these new treatments. What's being explored?
So this is an autoimmune condition, meaning that this is a condition that is caused by a dysregulated immune system where essentially our body attacks ourselves. Our immune system, which should be there to protect us from bacteria and viruses, sometimes goes awry and can actually attack its own tissues. So a lot of the therapies that have been proven effective in multiple sclerosis are actually acting on the immune system in different ways. And in fact, we've had a relative explosion in new therapies in the last decade or so, all of which are targeting the immune system in different ways to help decrease the risk of MS relapses and MS progression. However, this does come with a bit of a risk because these therapies that essentially downregulate the immune system to a certain extent may also expose patients to slightly higher risk of infections and other types of immune problems. And so we're always trying to navigate this fine line. But as our technology and our better understanding of this disease has expanded, we've been able to more effectively do that with some of these newer therapies in such a way that they're both very effective in managing the risk of multiple sclerosis, but also relatively well tolerated and relatively safe.
Dr. Paul Giacomini, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.